Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the very significant and strategic choices that you can make and I can make to become the best version of ourselves, even in the midst of a global pandemic. I'm so excited that I'm here in this space, in this place, in a socially distant, sterile environment where I can be with Justin Brown, my son. We've not been able to be in the same home together because of the fact that you're a third-year med student, that your wife is on the front lines as a nurse in a hospital. But we're going to have a conversation with you about 3 significant words that are important during this pandemic, but also are significant and transcend this unprecedented time in our lives. So thank you for listening in and thank you for being a part of this conversation. Justin, what are those 3 words?
Dream, decide, do.
Now, what's interesting about these 3 words, they're not a phrase. They're not a little slogan that have been true of most of our 3 Words podcasts. They are 3 distinct words. And the reason I chose them is because for me, they are my life's motto. That if you think about anything in life, any decision we are to make, any course of action, any pathway, any journey, I want to dream. And then I want to decide in light of that dream. And then I want to do in light of the decision. So I need the dream. I need the big picture. I need the vision of what it could look like. I need the picture in my mind of a better tomorrow or of the outcome I want to achieve. Or as we've talked about in a previous podcast, who I want to be at the end of my life. I need a dream. But then I need to make decisions in light of that dream. I need to make decisions of what are the decisions I'll make? When am I going to make those decisions? Who am I going to make those decisions with? When am I going to execute those decisions? All that goes around that notion of decide. But then comes the tricky part. It's the 3rd part of the motto, and that is to do. For some, it's easy to dream. It's even easier to decide. But will we actually execute? Will we actually make the choice that we have predetermined to do? So, dream, decide, do. My life's motto. What do you think, son?
Well, Dad, I'm especially grateful you brought me on for this particular podcast because I feel like it's almost a sequel to our very first podcast together, which was Focus on Becoming, which was all about envisioning who you want to be and who you want to become in the future. I shared parts of my funeral journal, things that I would want to be able to be said of me at the end of my life. But this, we're transitioning from coming up with a vision to now transitioning to making decisions and then finally to taking action. And I just feel like it's a sequel.
Yeah, I love how you summarize that. Fantastic. Absolutely.
Definitely. And I think as I think about these 3 words of dream, decide, do, I think about a conversation that we once had maybe 5-6 years ago, a time in my life where I was feeling discouraged. And you offered me a real encouragement with a phrase that I felt like was very representative of these 3 words. And I was in this season and I had a great vision for who I wanted to be, who I wanted to become. But I felt like my life didn't quite measure up to the expectation I'd set for myself. Didn't quite measure up to my goals. I didn't feel like I was the man that I wanted to become. And you had said to me this encouragement. You said, Justin, you are not powerless. You don't have to be a victim to not being the person you want to be. You can actually make choices today to begin to resemble that person right now.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I feel like it was really powerful to me for me to recognize that you talk a lot about control. And as human beings, we crave control, but we have control over nothing except our very next choice.
Yeah. And our legacy will be that. And we're talking a lot about legacy now during this pandemic, but it is 100% our choices, 0% our intentions. We will be remembered by the choices that we make and how we maximize our moments, and not at all by the hopes and the wishes and the intentions that were tucked inside of our spirit and mind.
Dad, I want to talk about this dream, decide, do in the context of a story of kind of something I've been experiencing recently.
Okay.
So first, the dream. I recently read a statistic that the human body is at peak physical capacity at the age of 25 years old.
Whoa.
So if that's true, then I have about just over a year to get into the best shape of my life. And after that point, I will be fighting against the natural decline of the human body.
Well, thanks for rubbing that in, son.
You're long beyond that 25, but truly that I felt like that was my dream was, if I'm going to be 25 in the near future, I don't know whether it's the first day of 25 or the last day of 25 that's the reality, but if that's true, then I want to be in the best shape I've ever been at 25 instead of peaking at 23. And then when I'm 29 to try to gain back the ground that I should have been making when I was about to turn 25.
Well, and you and I've chatted about this. Even now that I just turned 51 a few days ago, I still have this vision and this dream in my mind of climbing trees with my grandkids someday at 85 or 90 years old.
Right.
And for that to be true, I need to make decisions and actually execute to make that true, even though now that you've reminded me and brought to my attention the fact that I'm way past my prime. But it does begin with that dream.
Definitely.
Tell me more.
Well, so there's that part of that statistic. But then another thing is I was in classes and reading textbooks and reviewing recommendations and guidelines from the medical perspective that the recommended amount of physical activity each week is 150 minutes of aerobic, so cardiovascular physical activity every week. At that point, when I was first really hearing that statistic and recognizing, I peaked at about 90 minutes a week. And, as I'm going to be this physician that's making that recommendation to people, and I'm not even making that myself, and I can make the excuse that, it's a busy season of life and I'm just choosing to prioritize other things. But truly, if I want to be in the best condition of my life at 25, then there's no need for my goal to be, I'll work out 2 to 3 days a week. I need to work out a half hour a day, 5 days a week, 5+ days a week, perhaps, if I really want to stretch myself. So with those two realities in mind, that's the dream. The decision that I made is coming into the midst of this pandemic reality was that what an opportunity this is to, as I'm stuck at home, as I have so much more time in my schedule now, I'm going to take this opportunity for however long this lasts to get into and to stay in the best shape of my life.
Fantastic.
So I've actually, I normally I'm a workout at home guy, but I had heard that at the beginning of this, right before the pandemic was really peaking, there was this app that I had heard about called the Center Fit app. And it's Chris Hemsworth's workout app. He's the guy that plays Thor in all the Avengers movies.
Oh, wow.
But they're all home workouts. And there's a team of fitness trainers, and every day of the week, it's a different type of workout. So it's Pilates and yoga and boxing and squats and weights exercises, but it's all stuff that I could do at home. So I made this decision that I am going to, for the remainder of quarantine, I'm going to every day do whatever is assigns to me to do in the
on that app.
And even if I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that's where all of this really comes to a point, is that anyone can really dream and anyone can decide, but what does it take to then take action about the things that we've decided on previously, even when we don't feel like it in the moment?
And my encouragement to you, Justin, is, and to those who are listening and watching today, is the stronger and the more compelling the dream, and the more specific the decision, the more likely that you will continue to do and do and do and do and do. Because where there's a breakdown of the step before, it begins to break down altogether. So if I'm trying to make this very specific decision and I don't have this bold and compelling big dream, the decision is going to be shaky. It's not going to be as detailed and as robust as I would want. And for sure, if I'm lacking a specific decision of the who, when, why, how, so forth, that's tied to that big, bold dream and continually reminding myself of that dream, I will lose steam in doing day after day after day, which it sounds like if you stick with this, 21 days to create a habit, 90 days to create a lifestyle. And you're trying to create a lifestyle and not just something quick and in this season, but something that will actually be carried past this global pandemic.
I want to talk a bit about this idea of incremental change versus dramatic change in choices.
Please.
Because I've often heard you talk about that you make fun of New Year's resolutions.
I do.
For example, because you say that when you try to do this huge thing, it often becomes too big and you can't handle it, and you get discouraged and you miss one day. And for me, even I said that I wanted to do it every day. I've skipped days. There's been weeks where I've done 5 days. There might have been one week I did 4 days of working out instead of the full 6 or 7 that I wanted to. And it's that encouragement of incremental change that you've always encouraged, I really resonate with, because if I miss one day of working out, I don't have to be discouraged and say, well, it's all a bust. It's over now. I can,
get back on the train.
I can the next day make the choice and continue the habit, even though I relapsed in a sense, or I struggled in that one day. But beyond this idea of, you talk about incremental change, I feel like there is value to dramatic change, to big decisions.
To drawing the line in the sand and say, I must, and I must now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And specifically, as you're even trying to create routines, and as I'm trying to create routines in my life, I didn't say, I want to start slow and I want to start working out 4 days a week now, because I used to work out 3. Now I'm going to work out 4. I said to myself, this is my dream. This is what I'm deciding. I'm going to work out 6 days a week, and that is my decision. And even if I don't meet that, I think it's worthwhile to have that big goal and then to move forward to it.
Fantastic.
But then additionally, I think that for me, even starting this new workout program that maybe I wasn't quite cut out for in the first place, it motivated me to make real progress for a certain amount of time. And there might come a point where I get tired of this and I feel unmotivated and I struggle, but then it's time for me to make another, I think, dramatic change that will then allow for me to feel remotivated to make those more incremental changes.
So we will write a book together, son. Dr. and Dr. Brown. And the book will be, the first half will be the power of incremental change, and the second half of the book will be the power of dramatic change.
There we
because
go.
I think there is a role for both. And again, however you approach it, whatever it looks like, I think that we would agree. And I think if you really think about it, all of our listeners and all of our viewers on YouTube would agree. As hard as it is, imagine a life's motto, or even a paradigm of thinking. We'll call it the paradigm even of the pandemic, right? Because even now, let's dream.
Yeah.
Not just of life beyond COVID-19, because I think it's here to stay and I think it's here for a while, but actually for a life now. What is the life we want to live today? What are we dreaming about? What decisions will we make in light of those dreams? And what will we do at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, at noon tomorrow, and at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and even what will be our decision at 9 p.m. tomorrow night, and then all those minutes and moments in between, because I am convinced this works. Dream, decide, and then, of course, do. For life coaching, consulting services, or to hire a keynote speaker, please visit dmbcoaching.com.